I will be starting lab 6-2. So, part one, identify the questions. What data do you need to calculate the account balances? So, I would need the beginning balance at the beginning of the year and all the transactions for the year to calculate an account balance. What is the formula needed to compute the balance in accounts receivable? I would need beginning balance plus additions minus, beginning balance plus total credit sales minus payments received would equal my accounts receivable balance. How would you compute and group the age of each receivable? I would age, they'll be in groups of 30, 0 to 30 days, 30 to 60, 60 to 90, 120 plus. And I would compute the age by the date. So I'm obviously testing for the year end, which is 12/31. So anything that is, billed in December or, from December, what's the age from when it was actually billed. So from the date it was sent to the current day is how I computed it. So if something was billed on September and it's still outstanding, that would fall in the 90 to 120 range. All right, now we're going to move on to part two, master the data. To address the question of the data needed, we will compute the accounts receivable for each customer. That is, as of 9/30/2019, how many customers have yet to pay the amount they owe. So open file Salente aging September. Okay, so let's open that. All right, got that open. What the hell? Why is it not? Open mic. So here. All right, open. Let's go to downloads. All right, open this. Okay. So I've opened it. Create a pivot table using the sales order data. So grab sales order table data and let us create insert pivot table. Yeah, I'm not ready. New worksheet. I'm going to add data to a data model. Okay. Want all fields. Create a pivot table that shows the sales order total and receipt amount for each sales order ID. So I need the sales order total and receipt amount for each. So my rows will be my receipt ID, and my columns are going to be my, I'm sorry, not receipt ID. I want sales order IDs. So let's remove this. I want sales order ID as my rows, and my values will be the total, sales order total, and then my receipt amount. That will look odd at first. I'm sure you can allow Excel. Let's go ahead and auto detect those relationships. Close. What is the primary and foreign key that relates to two tables in this? Let's look at them. Sales order ID. So on cash received, the primary key in sales order ID is the sales order ID number, and the cash received has a foreign key that links to it. So that's what links those two together. After creating the relationships, the top few records of the pivot table should output look like the following. Mine look like that, looking good. So copy the data in the pivot table to a new spreadsheet to convert the pivot table data into a range. So let's do as it tells me. Okay. So let me highlight everything but that last row. Awesome. And we want to do a new spreadsheet. So where's that? Right. Expand these out so I can read them better. Look good. Add a column. And this one is going to be named difference. Add a filter to a difference column. Filter all of that up here 0. So let me do this. Formula equals less minus this. Let's copy it all the way down. And data, let's filter. And we are going to take out all the zeros, which leaves these numbers. The data can be made more interesting by identifying how late payments are. Returned to the cash received spreadsheet in your workbook. So we're going to go over here. Add a new column to the cash receipt table called sales order date. So we're going to go over here. Sales. And we're going to name this one sales Sales order date. Got it. Falsely to look up the corresponding date with the sales order ID that each. Okay, so I'm going to make a VLOOKUP to find my sales order date. So I'll be looking up the sales order ID from my sales order table. My column range is 2, and I want an exact match. Got a bunch of NAs. That's awesome. Okay, let me see what I did wrong. My table array is there we go. And let's format that to be a date and not a number. So let's hit that. Number, I want it in date format. Got it. Okay. Got my sales order date. Now that the sales order is easy, now that you have sales order date accessible, you can create another column to calculate the difference between dates. So create a new column labeled age. So let's enter a new one. This one will be my age. So I'm going to subtract my cash receipt date from my sales order date. So this minus that. Okay. I want it to be a number. The whole thing to be a number. No, I did it backwards, so let me do it again. I want equals or equals. Got that. All right. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create my aging table. So 0, 30, 60, 90, and then 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, 90 plus. Got those. Then I'll go ahead, add a new column. One more column. Insert. This will be labeled bucket. And I will do a VLOOKUP. And it will be, I'll look up the age. My table array will be this. 2, comma, true. So an approximate match. I need to change this real quick. I need this to be, let's go to my functions. Right. Had to make those. That. And we can quickly create a summary of how many invoices fall into each bucket by using Excel's count if. So to the right of mine, I'm going to do a count function, which will go right here. Equals count if this is what range I want to count, and then my criteria is that, and boom. Did that. Return to my pivot table and refresh the data. So that's in sheet 2. Is that sheet 2? No, it's not. Let's go to the refresh button. Alright, there should be a refresh button somewhere, but I do not see said refresh button. Yep, there we go. Refresh. And my age and bucket have appeared after I refreshed. I see them. Alright, so I will add the bucket field. Let's add bucket. I'm not sure. They told me they didn't specify where they would like bucket to go. Okay. And then remove sales order total. So I want buckets to be on top. Like that. I can close it. Perfect. That way I can see the totals. I'm gonna go ahead and save this file. Alright. Of the not yet collected balances in each of the 4 buckets, which bucket is the least likely to be collected? Which bucket is most likely to be collected? How would this help us come up with an allowance for doubtful accounts? Least likely is always going to be the 90 plus, and the most likely would be 0 to 30. It will help us with the allowance for doubtful accounts because as we can take, they've been assuming the company's been in business for a while. We can take, how they've collected receivables before and decide how much should be allowed, how much we should, deduct for allowance for deductible accounts. 61 and 90, some of those might be uncollectible, and some in the 31 and 60s will be as well. But for sure, all the 90 pluses will probably be inside the allowance for uncollectible accounts. Now let's assume that 3 months have passed. Open the spreadsheet. Slante, aging, December. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab that real quick. Go to my other place. Modules. 2.6-2. I really just want this one. Of course, let's close that. Over here. So, files go to open. It'll be in download, so browse. Downloads. So let's actually extract this stuff. So, extract all. Let's open this. I'm gonna look at my aging from 6-2. Open up this one. No, that's the wrong one. Check. Now let's assume that 3 months have passed. Especially based on what you have viewed with the September data, what do you expect to find as far as outstanding balances now that the year is finished at the end of December? I expect to see that a lot of those 0 to 30 balances will have been paid off by now, and that 90 plus will grow. That 31 to 60 will grow. Every value will grow, but 0 to 30 will stay about the same. Repeat the steps you did in the new data set, create a pivot table. Okay, so based on sales order. Let's do insert tables, pivot table, data model. Okay. I want my sales order ID. Not in values though. I want it rows. Got those. Copy it. Difference. That's strange. Why are they receiving more payments? That's better. Got it. Show only invoices haven't paid in full yet. So data filter. Return the cash received table and create additional columns so that you can identify the aging bucket. So let's go to cash received. Right, and I want this to be a date. Perfect. And the bucket. Let's actually move these so the VLOOKUP can work. right the first time. Yeah, let me. Right, still wrong. Let's see what I did wrong. Alright, there's that. And then once I get my bucket and stuff, create a pivot table, fall into each bucket. So let's go back to my pivot table. Design. Let's go ahead and refresh it. Field list. Alright, and now I should be able to. Don't care about the receipt amount anymore. What do I care about this total? The age and the bucket. But let's. That's weird. Let's cash receive. The foreign key here will be sales order ID. Okay, wait a minute. What went wrong? Okay, that worked. Okay. Yep, I was right. They all kind of went up. Check. End of lab. This concludes lab 6-2.